recording itself, please keep your cameras off. But without further ado, I will let Kelly introduce herself and get along with her session.
Hey. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Bryant. So typically for Tammy, I am in Charles County. Actually, today I'm not. I'm actually in the UK. And don't think that that's like my friend Lisa Kadera said to me. She's like, "Oh, you're at University of Kentucky." I was like, "No, the United Kingdom." She's like, "Oh." So I am across the pond providing professional development this week to Air Force Base staff that work with the youth at the youth centers and the student age centers. And then next week, providing a day camp during spring break at Alconbury Air Force Base. So the weather here has been quite variable, and but we're happy to be here. So it's actually 10:05 here, not too bad. But I'm excited to be with you because I think this is a very important topic. I actually provided this training last night to some teens and camp adults from Harford County. So it's all about neurodiversity, understanding it. How do we respond to it, especially in camp situations or in our clubs during activities? And when should we seek assistance? So all of our programs through the University of Maryland are open to all, regardless of background, gender, race, any sort of identity. So just like to put that out there so everybody knows that. And then this is me. So this is a picture of my family. My husband Tom's on the left, my daughter Delana, who's almost 15, my son Zach, who's getting ready to turn 17, and then to the right is my son Trevor, who is 18. The reason I decided to take neurodiversity on when I became a 4-H educator a few years ago was because I saw there was a big learning gap or understanding, especially when we had day camp and overnight camp, of how to deal with kids that don't think neurotypically, and how do we help them move through their day and be successful just like their peers. So I used to work in special education at Charles County Public Schools. I worked with hiring special ed teachers, and then I worked with the speech language pathologist, OTs, and PTs. And then behavioral specialists became a big thing while I was there as well. While I was doing that, I actually became a teacher because they opened an agriculture teacher for the first time in Charles County about 7 years ago. And when that opened, I was like, hello, there's my passion. Why not be in a classroom? So I got that job, and I was a classroom teacher teaching agriculture for CASE, which is Curriculum for Agricultural Science Education, for 5 years. So I was really involved with 504s and IEP meetings with students. So for 4-H educators, IEP means something very different than what it means in a school system. In a school system, it's an individualized educational plan. And what it does, if you're not sure, is it provides accommodations and supports for students who might have some sort of condition that holds them back from being on level with their peers. So it provides what they need to be on level, hopefully providing more of an equity issue. So Trevor, my oldest, has inattentive ADHD, and it's really hard being a parent with a child with a neurodiversity. And for any of you all that have this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's a lot of hours advocating. It's a lot of hours ensuring they get those accommodations they need. Especially as he was in high school, it was very difficult because they have 7 different teachers throughout the day. And being a high school teacher, I understood the teacher side where they have so many students throughout the day. However, it's important that they made sure his accommodations were being met, and several were not. So I had to do a lot of advocating. My nephew, Caden, is also autistic, and he's a great kid. My sister, who's also a teacher, I've always said if she could equate the hours she puts into advocating for my nephew, she would be a millionaire if she was paid for it, because the hours she has to spend ensuring that he gets the supports he needs, it's really quite atrocious in today's time that she's still having to fight like that. The last piece is that I was selected to participate with Parents Place of Maryland. If you don't know about them, they are a nonprofit in Maryland and they provide advocacy. So I reached out when I was having trouble with Trevor of getting him the supports he needed. So I reached out, and that was my first understanding of their organization and their nonprofit. And I was so impressed with the help they provided, the resources they provided, that I ended up becoming a volunteer for them. So they also, before I even became a volunteer, they asked me to be part of this Guiding the Journey educational series where I got to learn hand in hand with other parents that have students across the board, whether it's severe and profound, meaning like wheelchair bound, nonverbal, feeding tube, all the way up to neurodivergent conditions that you don't see. It's like those underlying conditions that it's not until you really dig into a kid and understand them that you know that there is some sort of condition there. So I was very lucky to be a part of that because I learned quite a bit. So what I hope that we'll learn in this hour is just a little bit more about neurodiversity, be able to explain it, understand just some of the conditions that fall under it. There's no way for us in an hour to go through all of them. I will show you a graphic of many conditions that fall under it just to give you an idea of the scope. And then talk about ways to de-escalate, especially our youth if they're at camp or at a club, at one of our activities, and they end up having a meltdown. How can we help them through it so that they want to come back, so that they feel supported? So I'm going to play a little game with you. Sorry, Joseph, you're going to have to play too. It's going to be, oh, you know what? I should put the St. Mary's County people together. So I'm going to put Miss Rayleigh and Miss Tammy, you're going to be together. And then, hi, Karen, welcome. If you don't mind, I'm gonna team you up with Joseph. And
you go right ahead.
Okay, awesome. So this game is called Bamboozle. If you've never heard of it, it's not Bean Boozle, so don't get confused. I'm not going to make you eat disgusting jelly beans and figure out the taste and what they represent. Bamboozle is a free online educational like game platform that I used to use in my classroom to reinforce learning. But it's also a great like icebreaker that you can use. So let me go ahead and pull this up and make sure. Oops, I shared the wrong thing. Hold on. Let me share the game. There we go. So hopefully you see on your screen like numbers 1 through 16. Okay. Thank you, Joseph. I see you nodding. Okay. So Tammy, I'm going to make you unmute. You're going to be team 1. Karen, your team is team 2. So Tammy, will you pick a number?
Let's do 14.
14. And here's a hint. You may use your phone. Let Google be your friend if you're not sure the answer. This is just a way for us to learn quickly about some of these conditions while having a little bit of fun. So when someone has trouble paying attention, staying organized, and often loses things, what condition may they have?
Are you
Karen,
asking
don't answer. Karen, don't answer. You're team 2. Don't answer.
Don't answer. Okay.
Julie's unmuted.
I would say that would be ADHD inattentive.
You are correct. It's like, this kind of speaks to some of our kids, right? Like, this is my child in a nutshell.
Yeah, I have a kid.
Yeah. Yes. I feel that. Okay, so Karen, would you like to pick a number?
Do I have to pick it myself, double click?
Oh no, I pick it for you. You just shout it out.
7.
7. Okay, name a de-escalation strategy you can implement at camp, a club meeting, or a general gathering of 4-H youth. Joseph, you're also on Karen's team. Don't leave her hanging if she gets hung up. What do you think you can do to help a kid to de-escalate?
I can refocus them on something else.
Ooh, I love it. There's going to be a few of them, but yes, you get it. So you could create a quiet corner, especially if it's at camp. a separate space for privacy, to be able to process their emotions, provide positive reinforcement. The biggest thing is staying calm yourself so that your body language and the tone of your voice is more calming and understanding. So very nice. Go team 2. Oh, you're tied right now. Okay, Julie, do you feel like unmuting and picking a number? I feel bad because you're driving.
Well, I'm also gonna then go to the fair meeting at the 4-H office next. 12.
12. Autism, ADHD, dyslexia, OCD, anxiety. These are all types of what? What are these?
They're all types of neurodiversity.
I know it's a hard one, isn't it? Yep, they're all neurotypes. So yes, very good. Nice job. All right, Joseph, do you want to pick one?
Yeah, you're at 15, so let's go with 15.
Oh, I like it. Oh, good choice. Look
Not
at
bad.
you.
Yay, Joseph.
Okay, Tammy, what number?
2.
2. Oh, okay. Well, you just get to go to first place. All right, Karen.
Number 1.
Number 1. Like autism, so you know it's not that one, this condition may vary greatly from person to person, and some of the challenges include organizational difficulty, gross motor skills, information processing, and regulating emotions.
Can you help me out, Joseph?
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up on
I was going to
Google.
say, let Google be your friend. I'm
Yes,
okay with that.
yes. So you know what's throwing me, I think, is the gross motor skills. So that's a major, that's not a fine motor skill. Can be a number of things. Because almost every condition that you have can vary from person to person.
You are very correct.
Dyspraxia?
Okay, let's check. Oh,
Oh, look at
yay!
that.
Joseph, dyspraxia, very
Good
good.
job. Yay!
Yay! I love when Google comes through for us. All right, Tammy or Julie, I'll let whichever one of you wants to speak.
Are you good, Julie?
I am now.
Okay.
Can you see her? You all are all going to
No,
like a
I have
4-H
my
meeting.
camera off.
Well, I thought maybe you all were at the same place as you're switching to to a 4-H meeting. The things we do.
I decided to skip the meeting.
Oh gosh. All right, so one of you pick a number.
Go ahead, Julie.
13.
Oh, I was gonna say, lucky number 13, but it was lucky number 13.
Yay.
You won 15 points. Nice job. All right, Joseph or Karen?
Go, Joseph.
All right, let's go with 16.
Okay.
Like a row right there.
Neurodivergent or neurotypical, when someone's brain reacts in a way more familiar to most people.
I'm guessing it's neurotypical.
That's
And
my
you
guess.
guessed correct. Yes, that is neurotypical. All right, team 1.
Number 8.
What does neurodiversity mean? And here's an easy way to do it. If you break down neuro and then diversity, that's your answer. Okay, what does neuro mean? You two got real quiet really fast.
Well, neuro, you're talking about the brain
Yeah. So what's
and the way
diversity?
everything works in the brain. Diversity
So-
is basically everything in all different shapes and forms.
So neurological differences.
I'm going to give it to you because you were saying the differences. So the idea that everyone's brain works differently. So very good. Team 2, Karen, you want to go?
Sure, number 9.
What does ASD stand for?
Autism spectrum disorder.
Very nice. That is correct. Autism spectrum disorder. Julie.
4.
Okay.
Yay!
Nice choice. Nice choice.
Good
That was
picking,
easy.
Julie.
Didn't have to
I
think
know,
too hard.
I'm just lucky while I'm driving.
All right, Joseph, what number?
Let's go with number 3.
Number 3. How might cultural perception of attention and hyperactivity levels impact the diagnosis and treatment of ADHD? How might different cultures, how might they perceive ADHD and the diagnosis that comes with that? Any thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts on that, just because I know a lot of people from a lot of different cultures. I would say some of them ignore it, some of them don't care. Some of them may overreact because in a negative way, expect their child to be a super achiever, because some cultures push their kids. Others just can't deal with it, or they don't have the resources that we have in this country, for instance, to
Correct.
find a treatment plan for their child. So they just may give.
Nice job. So, and here's a big thing is that some cultures value high energy and some value calmness. So it really depends. So it's also important to think of a cultural lens. It's not just across the board, everybody thinks this way. It's okay, different cultures do perceive these conditions differently, and being able, sometimes it's hard for us to understand that, but we need to, as 4-H volunteers, accept that sometimes, but we still need to do what's best for the youth in our program. Tammy.
Number 11.
Okay. If someone frequently feels sad, hopeless, and loses interest in activities they used to enjoy, they might be experiencing symptoms of
Depression.
That's right. Major depressive disorder. Absolutely. Joseph, it's your turn, right?
I think it's Karen's turn.
Okay, Karen.
Doesn't matter to me. How about number 5?
Okay. What does it mean to be neurodivergent?
Well, everybody thinks differently. That's really, everybody has a different way of thinking, learning, or behaving.
Yep. Someone who behaves, thinks, and learns differently compared to those who are neurotypical. It was just a different way the question was asked, just to make sure it really hits home. So, I don't remember whose turn it was.
Well, we just
Tammy
took
or
our
Julie?
turn.
Yeah,
No,
Julie
we're
can
team
pick.
2. Sorry, we're team 2. So it's team 1.
So Julie, you want to pick?
10.
10. Organizing words into sentences, vocabulary acquisition, correctly pronouncing words, and following directions may be some of the challenges with this condition. Feel free to let Google be your friend if you're not sure. Or you might feel very confident in this one, especially if you know someone who has this. And so as you all are looking that up, just knowing that they might have issues pronouncing words, putting words into sentences. If we have one of those youth members in our program and we're asking them to read in front of everyone, they might go cold turkey on us and not be very happy. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind.
Are we,
Go
are we
ahead.
talking about dyslexia?
Am I?
That's what I was gonna
yeah.
say. Yep.
Yeah, very good. All right. So team two, you get number 6. Which condition is characterized by frequent arguments with authority figures, defiance, and irritability? This one might be a little harder.
I'm on it. Hold on.
Joseph, one of our 4-H educators that works with us, her brother had this condition growing up, and it was very difficult living in the house with him.
I see one here.
What do you think?
I just Googled it.
Yeah,
So AI
that's
told me that it is oppositional defiant disorder, or ODD.
Yep, that is correct. And that's okay. Let AI be your friend. ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. And we'll get into that a little bit more. I'll show you what that looks like. So, absolutely. Nice job. Look at that, team 2. You're the
Yes.
big winners. Great
Yay.
job.
Awesome.
Good job.
It's like
Yeah.
high five. Okay, so let me go back to the PowerPoint. Okay. Karen, I know you might have come in a few minutes late. I just want to let you know, as you're sitting there, if you have a scratch piece of paper anywhere, if you can grab that, you're going to need it in a little bit. So any sort of scratch piece of paper that you could like ball up and throw away at some point.
All right.
Okay, so what is a neurodivergence? So I like this graphic because it really outlines how many conditions fall under this umbrella. So some you might be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, Tourette's. Okay, yeah. And then we've gone over ADHD, we've gone over autism, we've gone over ODD. But then look at some of these other ones and you're like, wow, okay, I know people who fall under this, or I fall under this. Like speech delays. 2 of my 3 kids had speech delays, so they would fall under it. Anxiety, depression, that all, like a major depressive disorder, they fall under this. Developmental disabilities, intellectual disabilities. So there's so many things that fall under neurodiversity that sometimes I really wonder who's neurotypical among us anymore, quite honestly.
Exactly.
So for autism, I'm not going to show you this video, but I just want to make you aware of this person that's out on YouTube. She calls herself Purple Ella, and actually she's from the UK. So here I am in the UK. I wonder how far she is from me. But if you watch her videos, some of them are very eye-opening and helps you to understand a day in a life of a person with autism. She's an adult who's autistic. And so she talks a little bit about her childhood and how difficult that was because it wasn't as well diagnosed when she was younger, especially in girls. But now her kids have it as well. So she's able to advocate for her kids. But she just talks about things that we might not be familiar with, like stemming. So do you all know what stemming is for autistic kids? Feel free to unmute if you do.
Yes. Yeah.
So you want to give me an example?
So, stemming like actions, if they're continuous like shaking of the hands,
Like flapping. Mm-hmm.
yeah, like yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's anything, they use it as like a self-soothing mechanism to help them to be processing what's going on. So I talked about my nephew. He's a chewer. He really gets like sensory from his mouth. So it used to be that he would chew on a shirt to like his collar would like be all messed up.
I wish
So
I
my
could
sister,
show you my son right now who literally is chewing on the collar of his shirt.
I mean, well, just so you know, Tammy, like my sister found this and it was so wild because I told you I'm here in the UK doing professional development with staff at the youth centers. But we stay until the afternoon until the kids get off school and then we do an activity with the kids. And one little girl walked in today and I was like, Michelle, because Michelle's the other educator with me. I'm like, do you see the necklace the little girl has on? It was like a big like shark's tooth. Think of like Moana when Maui's got the big shark tooth around his neck. And so my sister bought my nephew one because he chews on it to help like that's self-soothing. So this girl had the same one. So I was like, that I was just talking about it last night when I was providing training about this is something that kids can use. Autism is harder to pick up sometimes in females, but some signs of females that do have it, they might bite their hair a lot. They might twirl their hair more than typical. Like I feel like all girls are messing with their hair at some point, but I mean, really twirling it. They might start pulling at it. I'm trying to think of some make noises and it's just a self-soothing. I actually have a 4-H'er in my county who does flapping and then he'll get up on his toes. And I just know that he's starting to get not overwhelmed, but he's trying to process all the information I'm giving him. So sometimes I'll back off a little bit and I'll slow down with what I'm doing. And then as I give another direction, I'll go over and check individually with him and just say, hey, how's it going? How you feeling? Do you need any help? And usually he doesn't. He's a very smart kid, but I just know that that's one of the things that I need to watch for as an adult to know that, okay, he's trying to process all of it. Maybe I need to slow down a little bit. He might be feeling a little overwhelmed. Other things to be aware of with sensory overload is lights. So Joseph knows this. One of my 4-H youth was at the state fair at the robotics competition and ended up passing out, falling and hitting his head. And it was because of the lights. They affected him. And it's weird because they weren't like crazy lights, but the doctors figured out it must have been the lighting that just sent him into a seizure and made him, literally he fell out and hit his head and was taken out by ambulance. So just really watching our kids and if there's any signs that we can try to help them or know that maybe we need to slow down, maybe we need to check on them on the side. But if they do start to get really amped up, some of the things we can do is make sure that we're clearing the area so that other youth in our programs aren't sitting there watching them and staring. Stop talking. A lot of times we talk at them and that's overwhelming. We're providing another stimulation that they can't handle at that moment. So just being able to be there and not touch them, because touching is another sensory overload that could happen to them is if we touch them. So just being there. Another example I can give you from my personal experience is we had a 4-H'er who, here's the other thing. With meltdowns that might happen with autism, and Purple Ella explains this very well. It's not something that happens right in that moment that triggers the child. It's something that builds and builds and builds. And then all of a sudden something little triggers them and they're in full meltdown mode. So just being able to watch our kids and see when they get there. The youth in my program, it had built throughout the day, didn't realize it. He was just feeling overwhelmed because this was his first year at camp. He ended up going into full meltdown mode when he was with his group during their group meetings. He pulled another 4-H'er's glasses off and ended up breaking them. He doesn't even remember doing that. He ran over to the chain link fence at our fairgrounds and grabbed it with his hands and put his face up against it to the point where I was called in, like I was doing a program in one of our commercial aid building. And they asked me to come over. And when I did, it was so bad that he had the chain link marks on his face because he had been pressing against it so hard. And you could see where his palms were sweating and he was all rust covered. So I just stood there next to him and I just said, I'm here. Let me know when you're ready to talk. And he kept asking me to go away. So I just said, 4-H does not allow me to leave you alone. It's a safety issue. So what I'll do is I'm going to go sit over here under the tree that's right by you. And when you're ready, come over. And so I did. I just went over and I sat down. He started to calm down. And within 20 minutes, he came and he sat down next to me. We didn't talk. He finished crying. And then he just started talking. He was like, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what happened. And I said, okay, well, sometimes things happen. So as we talked about, he did ask me if I would call his mom to come pick him up because he wasn't ready to be reintroduced back into the group. So I did call mom and just explained, here's the situation. I let her talk to her child. Mom came and was very good about it. Mom ended up taking her kid home, having a conversation about breaking somebody's glasses. And even though he had ramped himself up, that it's important to find somebody to speak to, an adult volunteer, an adult, a trusted adult, to let them know before you get to that point. So he came back the next day. He was worried about coming back. We had a conversation with the youth about, hey, this child's coming back. He didn't even know what happened. We really hope you would welcome him with open arms and be supportive. And I think our 4-Hers are just amazing. Like, our 4-Hers are above and beyond when it comes to things like this, because it does not rattle them. So he came back the next day. One, he pulled a child aside whose glasses he broke and said, I have money to pay for your glasses. I'm really sorry I did that. The other kid said, it's okay. Things happen and I understand. He went back to the group meeting and they were like, oh, sorry, I misused the name. They're like, hey, we're so glad you're back. We missed you. How's it going? And everything was fine. And it was just like, that's what 4-H is all about. And so that was such a heartwarming moment. It was tough that day, but knowing that if we do things the right way, we can make just an incredible mark on these kids' lives. So ADHD, so some of you might know this well. I know that I do. This is one thing that really got me into providing training in 4-H on, because I got tired of hearing some of the adults around me say, why do parents not send their kids to camp medicated? And I thought, wow, that's really tough, because some parents do choose to medicate their kids during the school day in order for their child to be able to concentrate, get schoolwork done. And I understand that. I'm not pro or con against that. But I know a lot of parents like to take their child off the medication in the summer to give them some reprieve, to give their body a chance to just get it out of their system, to be able to eat whenever they want to, because a lot of these medications suppress their appetite, to be able to sleep, because a lot of kids can't sleep on this medication. So I don't have an issue if we have youth that come to camp. Here's the thing. We're not having kids sit the whole time when we're at camp, or when we're doing, even at our club meetings. Our club meetings should be lasting for 20 minutes, and then we should be doing some sort of activity. If your club meeting is going longer than 20 minutes, yeah, somebody may need to revisit that. Okay? Because kids they can't handle sitting that long, neurotypical or neurodivergent. They struggle with that. Look, you all are probably struggling right now because you've been sitting just listening. You might be moving around and doing things. We need things instantaneous, and we need to move. So if kids are coming to camp and they're not medicated, that's because we have so many activities. They don't need to be. They're up and they're going. So inattentive used to be called ADD. So it used to be ADHD/ADD, but that's now the inattentive version. And this really masks itself in our kids. So you might think they're engaged and they're focused on what's going on, and they might be looking at you, but they have a whole party going on in their head. And that's my kid. He has a whole party going on if he's not interested in what you're saying. So that's why school can be a real struggle. I think we do a good job in 4-H of, usually our programs are pretty quick and they're hands-on. And so with inattentive or hyperactive, our kids are getting hopefully what they need. Hyperactive is something that everybody's probably typically more used to, where kids are in motion, they're fidgety, they need to be up, they need to be moving around. So when I was training the teens in Harford County last night, one thing I had suggested to them is, if they're having one of their meetings with their kids during camp, if they know that they have a hyperactive youth, don't make them sit down while you all are having me. Have them maybe doing circles, maybe doing jumping jacks. Maybe send them on a mission to take a note to an adult volunteer at camp, with an escort. You always need 3 kids together, but have them walk that to that adult, and that note could say, needs to walk. And then the adults are triggered of, okay, maybe I need to help. Maybe I can assist in some way. And then send them back. Has anybody else had any issues with ADHD or know firsthand about this that wants to share? You don't have to. Okay, I'm going to move on. You can feel free to share later if you would like. So ODD, which you learned about with our little game, oppositional defiant disorder. So this is a tough one because kids who have this condition are just negative Nellies, and there's really nothing that can be done. They have a disregard for rules. They can be hostile to their peers. They look like they're angry all the time. Their behavior is just typically not really good, and their relationships with adults and peers are just difficult ones. They're hard to come by. So if you know that you have a youth that has this condition, you really have to go the extra mile. And you also need to work with your teen leaders to make sure that they know how to go the extra mile and not take it personally if a child is angry, because it might be something that's kind of out of their control. I know somebody who said that their brother had this and that it took a long time for their parents to find the right medication that would help her brother to be able to be more calm and more understanding. And that's the thing with kids is it's very hard. So ADHD, autism, ODD, if parents decide they're going to medicate, it's usually not the first medication that's going to work because typically they have more than one condition too. It could be they have 3 conditions. So you medicate for this one, but what does it do to these other conditions? And sometimes it has negative effects. So it takes a little while to figure out what might work well. But especially with kids with ODD, just know that they will get aggravated. They could be not friendly. And again, it's out of their control. So just making sure that we're all aware of it. If the parents tell us, right? Because we're not always told that our youth maybe has a condition, but just know it, if we stay as positive as we can, that we'll be able to get through it and that we are modeling this behavior for our teens and for our kids. We pretty much talked about this, so I'm going to just kind of go through this quickly and then see if anybody else has had any experience or wants to talk about this. Managing meltdowns in the moment of removing others. You take a minute as the adult to get yourself in control because sometimes we get worked up. I think our teens do an excellent job of not getting worked up. Like they stay pretty calm through this. It's us that are the problem of getting, oh my gosh, what do we do? And instead of just taking a deep breath, kind of calming ourselves and then reacting to what's going on. So model the behavior. Choice boards is something, if you have kids in your program who sometimes get nonverbal, or if they're nonverbal, sometimes what's happening in the brain doesn't fire off to the mouth and they can't get words out. So something that you can provide to your teens if you wanted to is choice boards where a child can point to what they want, whether that's a 10-minute break. And it's usually a visual picture and the words so that however the child is processing at that moment, they can see both. They can see the visual picture and they can see the words spelled out. It could be that they need a book. It could be that they need a fidget. You know, a lot of times our teens have things in their backpack. I say that one of our teens, Mia, and you all in St. Mary's County know exactly who I'm talking about. When she comes to our camp, I say she's Mary Poppins because man, she can pull anything out of that backpack that a child might need. And we just know that Mia was one of them that we could put almost anybody with because she was so calm in the moment. She always had a backpack full of goodies. And when I say goodies, I mean fidgets, play horses, anything that would appeal to a child based on where they were. So our teams do a really nice job with that. But maybe the choice board could have a toy or a fidget, a timeout, something, go with a trusted adult. If you've never heard of choice boards before, you can actually do a Google search and you'll find a bunch of free ones and you can print them out. You can laminate them, you can put them in the protective sleeves, and it's just a nice resource to have. Just one of the things is not to point out any negative behavior. Always trying to stay positive is the best thing you can do. Instead of using can't, won't, how can we turn that around to say, tomorrow will be different. You can do this. I know I have full trust that you can get through this and I'm here to support you and I'm going to be next to you. We had a kid melting down yesterday We were making paper airplanes at one of the bases, and I mean, full on screaming right next to me. Obviously, some sort of condition. I'm not sure what it was, but they were upset that their paper airplane was not flying as far as the others. So I heard the crying, and I knew that one of the staff members was trying to help. So I just turned to the youth and I said, would you like to try my paper airplane and see if it goes further? Tears stopped. He flew it. He got mad because that one didn't work and he started crying again. But offering some options, some choices, sometimes helps. This study is from 2022, and this is a website that I like a lot called understood.org. I go there for a lot of different resources. One thing I'll say that I don't have on here, you can actually go to understood.org and they have this like a day in the life of somebody with a child with dyslexia, a child with autism, a child with ADHD. So if you're like, is this real? What is this really like? You can actually go through different past, like they have the child who does a video series and talks about it. And then you play this game where you're like put inside what a brain functions like as a kid with autism or a kid with ADHD. And it's quite eye-opening. But I have this on here just to show you kids with learning disabilities who are neurodivergent, just their anxiety levels compared to their peers who don't have a learning disability or who aren't neurodivergent. And it's just quite telling. Like it's almost double the anxiety level, double the frustration level, double the stress level. There's just a lot going on in their head anyway, a lot of negatives. So I think 4-H is one of those positives where we can really turn kids around and really show them the importance. And I think a lot of kids are drawn to our programs for this reason. Okay, so I told you to have a piece of paper, right? So grab your piece of paper that I told you to have. And this is what we're going to do. I created a story called Peyton at Camp. And every time you hear something negative happen to Peyton, you're going to fold him. I don't care if you fold his arm, you fold his head, you fold his leg, you fold him in half. Just make a fold. So everything negative that happens, you're going to fold. So just some background information. There are things we recognize or have contact with that may be physical barriers or physical dangers. So if we look at camp, one of our jobs as 4-H staff is to say, okay, what are the risks? What's risk management? What do I need to look at? Okay, those rocks might be dangerous. I need to make sure the kids aren't running. There's a nail sticking out. I need to take care of that. There's stumps up, so we know that kids might trip over that. But there are also emotional dangers that we have at camps and activities, and we really need to be aware of that and see signs within our youth so that we can help them. So as the story of Peyton at camp is read, make a fold on your Peyton doll, or you don't have a doll, you have a piece of paper, but that's okay, with each negative thing. So this is a overnight camp. And yes, I did base this off of Western Maryland for you all that go to Western Maryland because I love it there. So as Peyton was sleeping soundly when suddenly awakened by another camper slamming the cabin door and shouting about the water not being hot in the shower. Peyton is now awake and a little cranky because he's not used to getting up this early. Peyton gets out of bed, grabs his clothes, and heads down to the bathroom to complete the morning routine. As Peyton is walking to the bathroom, a tree root is sticking up out of the ground. He trips over it and falls. Some campers sitting around the rec hall see Peyton fall and start laughing and pointing. Peyton gets up with tears in his eyes, but keeps his head down because he doesn't want the kids to laugh at him for crying too. Peyton gets dressed, brushes his teeth, and heads down to line up with his group. As he is standing in line, his CIT looks at him with disappointment and asks him where his name tag is. Peyton cannot remember where he left it. The CIT just shakes his head and tells the leader and assistant leader that they will be the last group called for breakfast again because Peyton forgot his name tag. Since Peyton's group was the last to be called to breakfast, there are no more eggs or bacon left. All they have available are bagels or cereal, and Peyton does not like either. Peyton walks away from the mess hall, hungry and upset. During Peyton's first camp class of the day, which is archery, he misses the target completely, not just one time, but 3 times. Out of frustration, Peyton throws down his bow and walks away from the line. He goes over to a corner where he can just be away from everyone to process. Other campers are laughing at Peyton's outburst, which only intensifies Peyton's feelings. The archery instructor comes over and tells Peyton to get back to the line. Peyton refuses. The instructor tells Peyton he does not have a choice and says more directly, "Get back on the line now." Peyton keeps his head down, shakes it in refusal, and buries his head in his knees. "Just leave me alone." The instructor, still standing in front of Peyton, calls on his walkie-talkie for a camp director to come assist. "Hey, Judy, I need you to get down here immediately. Peyton is refusing to cooperate and is wasting other campers' time since I have to sit here with him." "How's your little piece of paper looking?" "Is it really folded?"
I'm running out of space.
"Running out of space. So is it like crumpled up?" Oh,
Close.
oh, poor Peyton. Okay, so I need you all's help. Oh, Karen, you unmuted. Go ahead.
I just have lots of folds, so I was counting at least 10 things.
Okay, perfect. Well, not perfect, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's the gist of it. So I need you all's help. So sorry, you're going to have to unmute. Because I want you to help me rewrite the rest of Peyton's day with the teen leaders and adults, because you all, as the adults, know how to make Peyton's day at camp go better. So as you help me to rewrite the story, unfold a piece of Peyton if Peyton has a positive experience. Okay, so he's all folded up, but we're going to unfold anytime something positive happens as we together rewrite this story. So the camp director comes down, looks at Peyton, and what? What happens? What do you think? Remember, I was a high school teacher. I will sit here until somebody answers.
What do you think the director removes Peyton from the archery class if Peyton is still there, and just goes for a walk?
And takes him for a walk. Okay, I like that. Well, so that could be an unfold. So as they walked, Judy, the camp director, then decided to come and sit down next to Peyton for a little while. And then what did she say to him?
She asks a question. Can you tell me what is wrong?
Okay, can you tell me what is wrong?
Or is something wrong? Maybe the better
Is something
phrase.
wrong? Okay. Or what could make your day go better? Something like that. Okay, so unfold one time. So Peyton starts to feel better, but is worried what the other campers may think of him. He is nervous and still on edge. As he walks to stand with his camp group, a fellow camper walks up and does what? All right, Tammy or Julie, you're very quiet on your end.
Sorry, my kids and dogs are running amok.
I feel you. So what do you think this fellow camper might come up to him and do or say?
A bottle of water, if Peyton's a boy.
Okay.
Might give him a bottle of water.
Okay. Offers him a bottle of water. Nice.
Or something else, that a piece of candy. I don't know. Just be kind.
Okay. Yeah. Or he could say, "Hey,
Yeah,
go ahead, Tim."
maybe ask, Can I sit with you?
Nice. Yeah. Or if they're in a group, maybe, hey, do you want to come over and sit with us? I like it. Very nice. Okay, so during free time, Peyton does not know what he will do or where he will go. What happens?
The other camper that invited him over invites him over again to join in an activity.
Love it, love it, love it. Yes. Maybe they say, let's go down to the waterfront together, or let's go take a walk, or let's play basketball or volleyball. Love it, love it, love it. At flag lowering, Peyton's group is responsible for this activity. His camp leader is giving out responsibilities to group members. What does the leader say to Peyton?
Hey, Peyton, would you like to be the captain?
Love it. Yeah. Would you like to be the captain? Or maybe, what role would you like? Would you like to read? Would you like to fold a flag? I love it. Perfect. So Peyton forgot his name tag again when they line up for dinner. What can his assistant leader say this time to not put Peyton down or make him feel singled out?
Maybe just say, I see you've forgotten it again. How about we try to remember next time, but for now, let's make a temporary name tag.
That's great. Yep, absolutely. Or maybe, and that's a good one. Or maybe he says, oh, you forgot it again. Do you need me to go help you look for it? Because a lot of times kids with a neurodivergent condition, they're forgetful. Like, oh my goodness, it's like squirrel. Where'd I leave it? I don't know. But maybe if you say, okay, let's retrace our steps and try to find it. Ta-da. I don't know about you, but when we're at camp, I feel like I find name tags everywhere. I'm like, hello, look whose name tag I have. Okay, so after evening activities, the campers are heading back to their cabins. Peyton is really tired since a fellow camper woke him up early this morning. This evening is much better because, why is it much better?
Maybe he made new friends.
Yeah, if he made new friends, maybe he doesn't trip over the route again. Maybe everybody actually goes to sleep at lights out. Yeah, any of the above. I love it. Okay, so how does your Peyton doll look now? Or your Peyton piece of paper? Any better? A little unfolded? Maybe not completely, but close to it?
Getting there.
Getting there? Okay. So he may look, if you had this Peyton doll, so if we were together, I would have this cut out for you. So you would have folded like looks like a gingerbread man. And so when you unfold, it still shows that, okay, even though Peyton might still be whole, there's still folds or there may still be imprints because there are those lines still on your piece of paper. So those are the imprints that have been left on Peyton. So what do you think that might represent?
Potential stress building up, even if something has gone away at
Mm-hmm.
that particular moment, it's never fully gone.
Right. It's still with that person, right? So if we have a negative interaction, there might be some positive that helped remove that, but I'm sure each and every one of us can remember some negative things that happened to us. I still won't forget my sixth grade bully on the bus. She's tried to friend request me on Facebook several times, and I'm like, no, player. Like, I remember what you did to me when I was in sixth grade. It was horrible. I didn't want to get on or off the bus. I didn't want to go to school because of you. But there was other things that helped to unfold that, but it's still there. There's still an impression. So as adults, especially as 4-H volunteers, it's our responsibility to help a camper to work on unfolding if they have that negative experience, help them to ensure that they are having positive experiences when they're leaving one of our activities or a camp event. So as we are closing out this evening, it's important to know that change starts with one person, right? So here's just some ideas of how you can ensure that you're part of that change. Listening to understand. And I know that that is said a lot, but I think we don't do that well. Some people do it very well. I'm in a courageous leadership lab on campus at the university, and there's some people who work at the university and they do that extremely well. And I'm like, wow, I wish I could be better at that, of when somebody explains something to then be able to say, so what I hear you saying is, and then try to repeat it back to them to ensure that you really do understand. Especially with our kids, sometimes they're so worked up in the moment, and you have like 2 kids who are, this happened and this happened and he did this and she did that. It's taking that deep breath, calming down and saying, okay, you talk, and then this is what I heard you say. And then your turn, you talk. Okay, this is what I heard. Is this correct? That's part of that asking questions and creating that genuine relationship, because then they see you care. I was telling the teens and the camp adults that are from Harford County yesterday that sometimes it's asking kids what's important to them outside of 4-H to create that genuine relationship. Maybe they're really good soccer players or they really love soccer, and knowing that, hey, you had soccer practice, how did that go? Really just makes them feel like they've been seen and heard, and that somebody cares for them. And that's where that caring relationship comes in as adults with these kids. Being patient, not quick to judge, making sure if families say that their child needs an accommodation, that we ensure that we're making that happen so that kids have the best ability to be able to do our programs and be equitable among their peers. Continue the conversation and be willing to educate others on this. I think it's very important. Foster a culture of empathy and openness, using respectful language. Leaders need to provide direct instruction. So especially at camp, sometimes I think this is important, especially with our class volunteers, of if somebody's not understanding something, it's important that we chunk bits of information, not just spit out a whole long list of directions and expect that all of the kids are going to remember that. But by breaking it down into chunks, it really will help all the kids. Being open to communication, identifying gifts and strengths, because every child, neurotypical, neurodivergent, they all bring gifts and strengths, some sort of creativity to our programs that without them we would not have. So it's our job to help find that spark in those kids, and that's those gifts and those strengths. And then just recognize that no 2 people are the same. No 2 kids are the same. If 2 kids have autism, doesn't mean that they're going to respond the same, doesn't mean that they act the same. So one last thing I'll leave you with. Parents are very protective over their children. A lot of you here are parents. I'm a parent. We're very protective over our kiddos. So that's why it's so important that if something happens at one of your activities at camp, that you are communicating home, that you are letting families know what's going on. Because the worst thing we can do is have those kids go home and tell their parents something happened, and we weren't the ones to relay the message first. And then we have an issue when they come back. So just being sure that we keep those lines of communication open with our parents is important. And then making sure that everybody understands how to work with our neurodivergent youth, which again, I think we do a great job in 4-H. And that's why 4-H does have so many unique and cool and fascinating kids in our programs. So with that, I'm just going to leave it here. You do not need to take my survey. Do not feel the need to do that. Please just, if there's any questions, I welcome them. If you don't feel comfortable, I'm muting. My email is there. Don't call my phone number right now because I won't be back until the 6th of April. I'm in the UK, but you can definitely email me, and I am responding to email across the pond right now. So any questions? Actually, I'm going to stop the recording so that if there are questions,